Muna is back, people. She's back. So I was talking to her earlier on. I was absolutely certain she would never have guessed this song. Yeah, so the song is called Get It Together. It's a live performance by the one, the only Seun, or is it Sean Olumide? Everybody knows him as Seal. He's a Nigerian author. He's a Nigerian singer. So yesterday, I talked about him with Fred. I said, Fred, I'm going to play Silo, whether people like it or not. They say, the powers that be, they will come and catch me. He said, but he's a Nigerian. He's a Nigerian. Oh, by all means, please go ahead.
Really? So, I didn't even know it was a Nigerian singer.
He turned 60 on the 19th of February.
Wow.
So his voice is sweet, ba. So the year was 1997. The place was somewhere in Zaria. Wusasa Zaria was in St. Bartholomew's College. And my best friend at the time, Jumoke Aderibigbe, played da 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 da. So he's the one that sang it.
Oh, really?
Yes. I knew if I played that, you know who it is. There's so much a man can tell me, so much he can say. So I knew you would know that one. So, but this is not even my favorite Seal of all time. My favorite song of all time is dun, 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 When the Night, Stand By Me.
Yes, I know.
See Your Life. So you know exactly. Yes. So Seal sang Stand By Me.
All this while I thought it was a foreigner that sang it.
He's a foreigner. He's in the UK now.
No, but he's a Nigerian.
Yeah, he's a Nigerian, of course. Well, of course, he lives
that way.
Yeah, Seal. She said he sounds that way. So yeah, his name is Seal. His name, Seal Henry Olusegun Olumide Adeola Samuel, and he turned 60 on the 19th, I beg your pardon, of February this year. That's 3 days ago, right? Yeah, so that was 3 days ago. And all his friends, they came around, his family, loved ones. Of course, they threw him a surprise party, and they said, oh, he's moved to tears and all. Seal is popular for, this beautiful voice. And of course, the fact that back in those days, radio stations at night, you're looking for beautiful soul serenade. Yeah, you put Seal on it. And of course, physically, he's known for the scars on his face. Yeah, he had a very bad accident when he was a young man, and so the scars never did heal. And over the years, people have asked him to do a facial surgery to look different. And but he kept his scars on. So that's his identity.
Yes.
And so it doesn't change the sound of his voice. It didn't change the style of his music. And so I know the biggest hits that, and if you mention Seal right now, it will say Crazy, Kiss from a Rose, and in fact, I'm sure on that birthday of his, on another radio station, I heard them playing. So I said, these people are in the spirit. They get the gist.
Okay, most of us know his music, but
you don't know who he is. Yeah. So because people want to do bang bang jum jum, I heard a few days ago that Ashake's song was. I don't even know the song. So I was saying they said they played one mixed calypso kind of song, and they said this is where Ashake got his song from. You know who Ashake is now?
I know.
Okay, I have to ask that. And so the song sounds like it's not Joha, it's the other one. I don't know the song. So I'd never heard the Ashake song before, but I heard this calypso song. No, I've never heard this particular one that what do you call it now? Not remix. I don't want to use the word. His side sampled. That's the word. He sampled a song, and so when we're having a conversation about that, a lot of Nigerian musicians these days that they just enter any continent and pick one song and just bring it to you. Yeah, But hey, that's not the gist this afternoon. It was just by the way. I mean, I had to pay tribute to this awesome man who was a humongous part of my childhood, and so happy birthday, Seal. 60. Wow, I can't believe it. So if my icons, if my role models are turning 60, I'm suddenly feeling, that there you're shifting to that side.
You're always saying this.
I always see it's because it's the reality. Before you know it, 2023 will end. You understand? 1993
sometimes I wonder, how did I get here?
How did you get here?
Honestly.
Mona, please don't talk.
I'll be like, wait, this is not just yesterday I was this old, and then today, like, how did my age run so fast to this?
You want to slow it down?
Yes.
You want to drink from the portion of immortality.
Please give it to me.
I know where the fountain of youth is. If anybody knew where the fountain of youth is, trust me, they will put it in a jar and sell it.
I don't think it will even get to us. It will finish.
Alrighty, you're tuned in and listening to Perspectives here on Citizen FM 93.7. We've missed this banter, just catching up on, the world, because everybody is preoccupied with elections. And so on one hand, you hear, let these elections just do and come and go. And then some people will say, oh, honestly, so it's that's the number one gist. Even in the UK, in the US, so as long as you have Nigerians gathered in one corner, that is what they're talking about. I saw a post, some people are, diaspora citizens are coming into Nigeria. They want to come and vote. So I look forward to a day when Nigerians can vote from anywhere in the world. We hope that, you're allowed to do that. And let me see, the elections is 48 hours away. Ejo, Edaku, we are begging and pleading with you. Please be civil. You don't have to, don't step on anyone's toe. In fact, if they step on your toe, tell the person sorry. Just avoid any fracas.
What do you think about people that say, okay, those in diaspora, they don't have any right to pick a leader for us?
Why?
Because they feel like you're outside there, you don't know what's happening here, you don't know what we are.
You think they don't know what's happening? They have family here now.
I'm just saying what you think about that, because some people say that those in diaspora should focus on their being there. They don't know what we are facing here. We are not facing things raw here, and you want to sit down there and pick a leader for us.
But they have family here now.
Yes, but they are not here. Not your family.
So they've gone to look for greener pastures. They had the opportunity to pay for a passport. Some people got scholarships, some people got a job, and something took them out of this country. But Ajo Dabile, is that not what it said?
If you ask me,
home is home.
I would say they shouldn't even bother voting.
Why?
Don't pick a leader for me when you don't know what I'm going through.
So you to go and pick a leader that you want. They are both
exactly. So just focus there. Focus on whatever you are doing there, and forget about we.
It's like living there. See, you can live in any part of the world, but you know where your heart lies, right? So that's what they're coming home to vote.
Matter first.
Hey, so please, the number to dial is 0818. Come and help me with Moon now. She's provoking on this matter. All right, so this afternoon, it was actually International Mother Language Day 2023. It is observed on the 21st of February to spread awareness about the importance of linguistic, cultural diversity and multilingualism. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm speaking big grammar today. Yes. So, and it is a very important date because back in the year 1999, before UNESCO, you know what UNESCO stands for? Should I go and break it down? United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. In November 1999, the first announces at the General Conference that there will be a Mother Language Day. It was done basically for the people of Bangladesh. They had put forward this idea to celebrate one's mother language. I had just broken away from Pakistan, at the time. And I've observed that they have been consistent. I didn't know about Mother Language Day until a few years ago in the university. I studied history and humanities. And yes, so I stumbled on it. So I was wondering why they always celebrate.
You're so good at history.
I love history.
I am passionate about it.
I am passionate about it. I cannot hide it. So I observed that it's a lot of Asian Asian countries, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. They're the ones that are like us. They have They have what we call cultural diversity. In Nigeria, every time we talk about cultural diversity, we say there are 774 local governments in Nigeria. We talk about how there are so many languages in Nigeria, but we don't talk about how we can make this a benefit or how we can do it to our advantage. All these countries that I mentioned now, they speak their language first to their children. We in Nigeria, I heard a few minutes ago you and Mina talking about how you have a baby and then you want to name your baby Jaden, you want to name your baby Lois, you want to name your... Oh yeah, now go on.
But it doesn't mean that I wouldn't name give my child.
It is because of people like you that we celebrate Mother Language Day, because you are eroding your culture.
No. Wait, don't you have an English name?
I don't have an English name.
Funny enough, I don't as well.
See, I actually do, but it's not an English name.
But I don't.
It's what in Christian folk who call it your christening name, the name you were christened in church, your baptismal. That's the word, baptismal name. That's what we call call it, Abi. So, but first, who do you owe allegiance to? You are first a Yoruba person before you are a what they call it.
It doesn't mean you wouldn't give your child an English name.
Why should you give your child an English name?
Is it a crime?
It is not a crime, but it is. The
thing I don't support, right,
yes,
is some people like refusing to answer their tribal names. Some people go as far as not even answering their
so that's the same thing we're talking about. Their
surnames, which is tribal. Some will go with, let me say, Paul, Mike, Paul, Peter, like. It does those ones.
You see, this is part of the things that colonization brought to. Because you say I want to go to that place now. I have a guest today. It's not as if we don't have a guest. I'm going to invite her any minute from now to come and talk, because she is the expert. She's the pro, on this matter. But I just wanted to establish, some of the things that we don't do. So I saw statistics, while preparing for today's episode. I saw that according to UNESCO, 40% of the global population does not have access to education in its respective native language. You remember we talked about this a few years ago. That if you teach physics in Igbo, if you teach physics in Hausa, if you teach physics in Edo, for instance, that people in that area are likely to understand it better than when you put them in schools. So now say, okay, but what is the Edo word for Pythagoras theorem, or what is the Edo word for that? That have we even done the job of breaking it down in our curriculum and have it somewhere in a database? So that before you say you want to teach it to schools. So, but they did test that theory in Osun State. In a few years ago, they taught physics, geography, all the science subject was taught in Yoruba language. I remember when at that time Governor Aregbesola also introduced the Okpaimo. This is Okpaimo. It is a tablet, but it was, he distributed it to students in school because they were going with this tech agenda at the time. So I don't know how successful that project was at the time. We knew that they made the effort to try it. So if a government is willing to institutionalize that, why not? People will take it on. But we know that it always starts in the home first. The first language your mother speaks to you is from there that you know that, okay, this child is you know that, okay, this child is can speak the local dialect. I don't want to call it local. What's local about my dialects? Hello, is global. So, but international. So one of the things to create awareness for is your mother tongue. That's why they set up International Mother Language Day. So it's a way of safeguarding your culture. It's a way of ensuring.
So I want to ask something.
Yes, please.
Okay, since you want it to be done that way, are you trying to say that English should be scrubbed out in some schools completely?
So this is where we're going with the conversation before I invite our guests. I'm not asking you to scrap English. I'm saying you should give your own language, your mother tongue, the opportunity to survive your own generation. You understand? Our grandparents spoke to our parents spoke our language to us, but we are not speaking to our children. And we know that what happens in that kind of situation is that it has been estimated by the United Nations that by the year 2100, half of the world's languages will become extinct, and with the rate of extinction being approximately one indigenous language dying every 2 weeks. Do you understand? So the two of us are speaking English now. Why are we not doing this show in our dialect?
Their language, there are programs that we have different languages.
So that's why we like Citizen FM. Because I think Citizen FM is contributing to ensuring that our languages are not extinct.
And if you ask me why, I feel like why this is happening, like some languages are going extinct. I think two major reasons. But first of all, I think people they believe, how do I put it? That they believe English, I don't know who gave them the idea, they believe that it makes them more civilized. Even though I don't agree with it. You just said if you don't give it to be nice to have an English name. You want to call your children Brown, of course,
or Paul,
but it doesn't stop me from giving my child another tribe, like tribal name as well.
So we're joined on this episode of Perspectives by Ms. Adrienne Sewanu Akran, Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Juan.
Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon to everybody. How are you all doing?
We're doing amazing. And so we have picked a side. I've picked one side. Muna, my guest, my co-anchor is Muna. Just picked his side. So you just joined the conversation where she's asking. Go on and ask your question because I want her to.
Okay, no, I was not asking a question. I was giving my opinion why I think some languages are going extinct. Yeah, because
we name our children English names.
Not because I'm saying some people feel it makes them more civilized. Because we have somehow idolized being elite and classy.
Yes.
And so
our local language cannot be posh.
Some people they take it as
it's not posh.
Local and all that. And then another reason we glorify for anything foreign.
Better than
ours. Down to food, clothes, different things.
No, food. I don't. Food.
Some people don't even eat local dishes. They say they don't like the smell. They don't this. They don't. They prefer all this yum. How do I call it? All these foreign delicacies. To them, it makes them feel like, oh, I'm posh, I'm classy, and all that. You get.
So it's because of them we're doing this now. So thanks for joining us on this show. We're celebrating International Mother Language Day, which was actually 21st of February. That was yesterday. But we're talking about it today. The 24th edition of International Mother Language Day focuses on multilingual education, a necessity to transform education. I'd first of all like to ask, do you have your own local name apart from Adrian?
Well, first of all, I would just like to thank you, for inviting me on your show. Yeah. Yes, of course, I do have a middle. Actually, it's my first name.
Yeah.
My middle name. Yes, it's my more traditional, name as opposed to Adrian, which is my colonial name, as I say.
Adrian is your colonial name, yeah. Okay.
It is my colonial name. And the reason why I said that, I just go back to what the young lady was just discussing. We're just talking about food as the reason why some. Then I think she was trying to say something about people not wanting to do things in their own, indigenous, language. And I think, she mentioned something about food. But the reason I mentioned something about my name, my middle name, being my first name being my colonial name, is just to bring the whole, attention back to the reasons why. Well, one of the reasons, why languages are going extinct, and it has a political, angle to it, and it's largely due to colonialism.
Yes.
Okay, so yes.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Go on. You just stopped suddenly, so I thought maybe you were done talking.
No, I think, it might be the connection.
Okay, so but go on, we can hear you clearly.
Yeah, language, when we're talking about language is a structural system of communication that consists of grammar and vocabulary.
Yeah.
It's the primary means by which, humans convey meaning, both written and spoken forms. And, when that is actually deprived in any community, it has a very, very negative, impact.
Yeah.
I just want to use Australia as an example, the Australian Aborigines.
Yes.
When the English, colonial, settlers got to Australia, the first thing they did, obviously, killed as many of the indigenous people as they possibly could.
Yeah.
And the ones that survived, especially the children, were actually forcibly removed from their homes.
Yes.
And, placed in a boarding, school.
Yes.
And, while they were there, were deprived of ever speaking their native languages, including dressing, according to their cultural, attire. There were so many things that were stripped. They were forced to adopt and assume the Western way of doing things.
Yeah.
But, the impact that actually had was a very negative impact, because now in Australia, I happen to like, Australia Aborigines a lot.
Yeah.
They're actually suffering from a lot of, ill health, mental health, substance abuse, alcohol as a result, of being deprived of one's, culture, because language is part of a culture.
True. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm actually glad that an organization like UNESCO exists to try and preserve languages around the world.
Yes.
And and another reason why languages go extinct has a lot to do with the media, because we're speaking in English.
Exactly.
I can speak Yoruba, but that has been as a result of colonization, and slavery.
Yes.
Mainly because that's what colonization does. It actually
erodes
goes into a country. Absolutely erodes, the culture. Deprives people of their human rights, because to be able to speak your language, is a human right.
It is.
And I think United Nations, has an action plan to actually ensures that a human right, of people around the world are preserved, so that they're able to participate in the economic system, whatever that might be.
Thank you so much for saying that. I like the example of Australia that you used. I remember recently in Australia, one of the ways to help them find some form of identity was when the Queen passed in September, and I think they've been talking about bringing on a new currency, and the currency they spent there, of course, had the British monarch on it, and so they've agreed that now there's no point putting, because of course the Aborigines, they've protested really about colonialism, and they are asking back, trying to win back their identity. So they're saying, instead of having a British monarch on their currency, that it would be nice to give them something back, something that belongs to them. So it would be nice to put something from their own tradition and culture on the on the currency. And so I like that. That's a big step in the right direction. So I want us to want to bring this conversation to Africa, because when we started earlier on, we're all over the place, because this topic is a big one, and it's not one we talk about in Africa. I was telling her that, have you observed that when you talk about International Mother Language Day, you rarely hear Africans talk about it, because Africans are still struggling with their history, the history of colonialism. They are still struggling with the history that is even taught in our schools. What would they call it? Selective history. That's what I'm trying to say. And so we're not really, I don't think we feel the impact of languages becoming extinct. I found out that, as I thought, popularly, when they ask me that, what country has the most languages in the world? With confidence, I usually say, Nigeria, or I'll even go on to say that it is I'll say maybe India. But I found out that Papua New Guinea is the country with the most number of languages. We often think of Papua New Guinea as one tiny country, but it has 841 languages. Wow. But it is predicted that
that's impressive.
Yeah,
that's impressive.
That 40
for a small country.
You don't know how tiny Papua New Guinea is. As in, just think of Nigeria. It's like a drop in the ocean compared to Nigeria. Yes.
No. Yeah. Absolutely. Maybe the size of one state.
Just one state in Nigeria for a whole country, and they speak 841 languages there. So you are African. Is there anything that we can do to, especially I think for the theme this year is multilingual education, a necessity to transform education. Is there any way we can bring this home to Africa to try and help us realize how our languages are eroding, they're becoming extinct. In the next, I heard someone say in the next 100 years, they probably will not speak Yoruba, they will not speak Delta,
Next 50, sir.
So is there anything we can do to go on?
Remember, was it the other night we were having a chat.
Yes.
And I think, I mentioned, something. I think I asked you a question. I said, do you speak Yoruba? Or I think I was encouraging you actually to speak Yoruba to more.
Yes.
I was actually going to say, perhaps the government can do something. I think this is every single Nigerian's responsibility.
Yes.
To make sure to speak Yoruba to the children and grandchildren. Yes. Let me give you an example. The Chinese people and the Indian people in England that I know of, they don't speak English in their household.
True.
The only time their children speak English is when they're in school or outside. But in their homes, they don't speak English. The Chinese, they either speak, Cantonese, Mandarin,
yes.
And the Indians, the Pakistanis, they speak their own, that because they recognize the importance of language.
Yes.
Because without language, how will we communicate? How will we transfer ideas, from each other?
Yes.
Language, actually makes the world go round,
it
as
does.
it were.
It does.
Where either verbally spoken or, in the written, form.
Yes.
I mean, let's go back, ancient times. Let's go back to, to Kemet in Egypt. Had they not, written all those things on the wall, we would never have known anything about the messages
or African
left, behind for us.
Exactly. And so for people who say African people don't have a written history, that is always evidence. We had pictorial history, we had oral history, and that's the only way we could have presented. Yeah, so please go on. Sorry to interrupt you. I needed to say that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm just, thinking about, you sent a message, asking me to share a word.
Oh, so not yet. Just hold on. Not just yet. We've not gotten to that yet.
I've been thinking about all the words in Yoruba that, I've never heard, translated into English. I can't think of any.
Okay, so just hold on.
Probably because I don't speak Yoruba.
But you're going to speak Gunuvi today when we because so you've been listening to the voice of our guest Adrian Akran on this episode of Perspectives. I know at the end of the day, someone is going to ask me a serious question. I have to confess who she is. But for now, we have to go on a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll take your messages. Remember, you can leave us a message on WhatsApp on 0818 22 22 205. You can dial 0808 22 22 037. We'll take your messages, we'll take your calls. We're talking about International Mother Language Day 2023. Remember the theme we mentioned earlier on. The theme this year is about multilingual education. How can we include it in our, education? That's what we're talking about on the show this afternoon. So WhatsApp 0808 22 22 037 or 0818 22 22 035 205. I beg your pardon. Multilingual education, a necessity to transform education. We'll be right back.
93.7 Citizen FM.
Let's talk about it on our favorite radio station.
We're more than just a radio station. We are a part of your life.
This call to prayer is sponsored by the Nigeria Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة. 93.7 Citizen FM. La ilaha
93.7 Citizen FM.
Let's talk about it on our favorite radio station.
We're more than just a radio station. We are a part of your life.
We teach girls shame. Close your legs, cover yourself. We make them feel as though by being born female, they're already guilty of something.
So I think right now we have the chance to be heard, and that's why we're doing it. We're all doing it because we're asking to try and elicit change.
No woman should sit down and allow a man to speak about her reproductive rights.
But it is about opening spaces for other women and not to be seen as token, and that because I'm a woman, I'm only speaking about women at the table. No, I'm speaking about side of the table that is empty, and the women have to be there. So
I want us to leave this world better than we found it. And how I choose to affect change is by speaking up, by being the first, and by being the dominant.
Over 4 billion of the world's population are girls and women, also faced with challenges that affect our world and contributing solutions to them. Let's have conversations and get some answers to them through their eyes and voices. Tune in to Perspectives, where we discuss important issues ranging from climate change, politics, health, the economy, and lifestyle on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. Weekdays from midday. Perspectives. Conversations that matter.
Do you remember this song? Nupa Bouger. This is from one of, honestly,
who sang it?
This is Salif Keita. He's a Malian singer. Nupa Bouger is, of course, against colonialism. Aha, you see, I've come again with my anti-colonial tendencies. Welcome back. It's 7 minutes till 1 p.m. You're listening to Perspectives here on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. Today we're celebrating International Mother Language Day. You do agree with me that we cannot ignore that language is fundamental to the communication of all kinds, and communication plays an important part, an important role, I beg your pardon, in making change and development in human society. So our guest, Adrian, is back on. Hello, are you back on?
I am back.
All right, so thank you so much for staying with us, and thank you for doing this. I just knew that.
My pleasure.
I just knew that. So while we're on the break, Muna was asking for your name, and so I told her your full name, and she says, "Oh, it does not sound Nigerian." And I remember, I said, "We are from." The name is from one little village in Lagos State called Badagry. And she said, "Oh, it sounds, of course, we get that a lot of times. When you mention your name, it sounds so exotic that we're, but why don't, if honestly and truly, if you've never heard, if you've never been to Lagos, you probably will not know Badagry names. It's the same thing if you've never been to Calabar or Akwa Ibom. Names are even quite popular because when you hear Akman, you can easily tell, or you hear Ekaite, you can easily tell Effiong, you can tell, oh, okay, they're from the south parts of the country. But there are some people, like I have a friend who is from I often mix Adamawa and Taraba State. His name was his God rest his soul. His name was Destiny Vala Daniels. Yeah, so I used to wonder, say Vala. Yeah, of course, whenever I hear Vala, I remember Valhalla, I remember all those Dutch, So, let me take you back to what you were saying just before we went to the break, because we have another quick stop in another 5 minutes, and I don't want to eat up too much of your time just rambling on. You were telling me that you have tried to think about one specific word that only exists in your language and that cannot be translated to English, and you said you haven't found any such word.
I mean, like I said, I've actually been thinking,
mulling it over.
I can't think of any word in Yoruba that hasn't been. I'm sure there are lots of words.
What about
but
in Egun? What of in Gunuvi? Is there any one word that that is just uniquely for that? That's the only way to describe it in your language. Do you have any such word?
Yes. I really can't think of any. I'm sure it's when I'm not paying attention, thinking of words.
It will come to you. It
will come.
All right, so I'm curious, what about you listening at home? Is there one word in your language that you cannot translate to English, that you can only describe the meaning in that your language, in that your dialect? I'd love you to send me a message. Yes, please go on.
I just thought of a word. It's Ashoke.
Ashoke.
I don't know if there's an English.
Exactly, because everybody still says Ashoebi. Everybody still says Ashoke. You are very correct about that. And that's even for Yoruba. So I really love to hear back from, another person from another culture right now. Before you say the Yoruba people, they've come to dominate this show again. 0818-2222-205 or 0808-2222-037. We're celebrating International Mother Language Day. I know Nigeria is preoccupied with the elections right now. The tension is out of this world.
Because we're just going around in circles. It's like a gerbil on a treadmill. You're just, going around in circles. And no one is actually bold enough, to actually care enough to be truthful and be honest with the people.
Yeah.
All they're thinking about is getting to that treasury, dipping their hands in that treasury, and just, taking as much as they possibly can. It's like I've just, given up on Nigerian politicians. Politics rather, and the politicians as well.
All right, please don't give up. We're here and we're living through this reality. We have to go on that break now. I'll call you back right after we're back on. We have to take the news at the top of the hour, and once we're back on, of course, delightfully we'll call you back in. Thank you so much for doing this. We really appreciate you.
You're very welcome.
This is 93.7 Citizen FM, Abuja. Time for news on the hour.
It's 1 o'clock. Good afternoon. Thanks for staying with us here on Citizen FM 93.7 Abuja. Here's the news on the hour. Ahead of Saturday's elections, former President Goodluck Jonathan has enjoined Nigerians to be patriotic, peaceful, and display true sportsmanship as they vote for their preferred candidates. Jonathan, who stated this in a message to Nigerians Tuesday, urged politicians to eschew hatred and violence, be circumspect in their actions, and work towards consolidating the nation's democracy. On his charge to the youth, the president said, "The future belongs to you. Do not allow yourselves to be used as agents of destruction and violence." He said, "Nigeria is yours to build, and this election provides you with the opportunity to be key partners in the nation-building process by electing leaders of your choice, those you can hold to account, those you trust to defend your future and guarantee unity, peace and prosperity in our great country." Hundreds of Sudanese protesters took to the streets of Khartoum Tuesday, demanding the ouster of the country's military rulers and rejecting a deal from the late last year for the gradual transfer of power to civilian leaders. Riot police fired tear gas at protesters, and confrontations took place between security and protesters. Sudan has been in turmoil since an uprising overthrew its longtime autocratic ruler Omar al-Bashir, and Tuesday's demonstration is the latest in a long string of protests. A military coup in October 2021 abruptly ended a previous democratic transition agreement with protest leaders. Earlier this week, one of Sudan's top generals who led a coup against the country's transitional government in 2021, called the takeover a mistake. In a speech delivered on Sunday, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, who leads the country's paramilitary known as Rapid Support Forces, said he regretted the move. The protest was led by Resistance Committees, a grassroots group that has steadfastly rejected any negotiations with Sudan's military leaders, General Abdel Fattah Burhan and General Dagalo. The protest group has called for both men to be tried in court. And on the foreign scene, President Vladimir Putin suspended Moscow's participation in nuclear arms treaty with Washington as U.S. President Joe Biden vowed in a rival speech that Russia will never win in Ukraine. In his State of the Nation address shared ahead of the first anniversary of the campaign in Ukraine, Putin also accused the West of escalating the conflict and vowed that Russia will keep fighting to systematically achieve its aims. The Russian leader accused Western powers of wanting to be done with us once and for all, but said increasingly stringent sanctions on Russia will not succeed. In sports, Ladan Bosso and his Flying Eagles team are convinced that they can kickstart their quest to qualify for the next round of the ongoing Africa Under-20 Cup of Nations tourney and represent Africa at this year's FIFA Under-20 World Cup finals in Indonesia later this year. The 7-time winner of the competition began the tournament on a shaky note, losing 1-0 to Senegal last Sunday, but could revive their bid to reach the quarterfinal of the competition if they defeat their host Egypt at the Cairo International Stadium. Egypt also played out a goalless draw against Mozambique in their first game. And that's the Citizen FM News on the hour. It's now back on Perspectives, where we're discussing International Mother Tongue Day. Thanks for listening. Good afternoon. We won't keep quiet. That's what it means. It's a song by Salif Keita. Salif Keita is a Malian artist, and Muna has no idea. I just keep taunting her with this my old school melodies. Welcome back, and thanks for staying with us, Adrian. Are you still online?
I am still here. I just listen to you read the news.
Okay. Did you catch bits of Salif Keita's song?
Yeah, I did. What year was that released?
Oh, that's some 27 years ago or more than. I think 1980. Yeah, he's an old.
Is he still alive?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Really?
He's still alive. He's still alive. I know he's living in exile somewhere. I'm not sure where. I'm not sure where. This is what I like to go and watch some of their songs. I like Africa. Back then we call them world music. That's how we categorize them in radio stations. We call them world music. There's a belt where you play songs of Salif Keita, Youssou N'Dour, Angelique Kidjo. I know you like Angelique Kidjo. You are always talking. Yes. Oh my goodness. So this is so great to talk about international languages today. I know the time is so short because before you know it, we have to wrap up. Yeah, so today, have you ever, celebrated International Language Day in any form? Have you had an opportunity to educate people about, their local dialect?
As a matter of fact, I don't think I have actually, heard anything about this, until you brought it to my attention. And actually, that's a fantastic idea. Let me just, quickly share something I found out about, extinct, languages. Okay. There's a particular language, called Yeni language, spoken in Cameroon, right? It was, formerly spoken in Cameroon. Yeah. And guess what? The language is actually extinct. The only thing left from that language is just a song.
Oh, how did that happen?
Exactly. I mean, obviously, it's in a remote, area of Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it actually became extinct in the 1800s when the speakers switched to another, language. Oh. I think, just as you mentioned, was it Papua New Guinea? You mentioned that they speak about 800 different languages.
Yes.
It's from a very small country. I think, sometimes, when you have so many different languages, spoken in a very, very small proximity, can actually cause chaos.
I can't imagine.
So, yeah. So I think, what may have happened was, obviously, maybe there were more speakers of a particular language than any other language, and it was decided, to just, decide on speaking one particular language over another. So
I think
I just thought it was interesting.
I didn't even know this about Cameroon, but I know a few months ago, South Africa. Their beautiful comedian Trevor Noah was having a conversation with someone and how the Xhosa language in South Africa is going extinct. So a woman, she actually wrote a book. She wrote the book in that language because she didn't want it to be extinct. She said it's just her grandmother left in that village, that speaks that language. There's nobody to take over, to speak the language. Yeah. So I think apart from waiting...
That's interesting.
Yes. This year's theme is multilingual education, a necessity to transform. I think for us to get that longevity, to ensure that, the languages, are around for a long time and they're not extinct, is to include it in our educational system. I think, so UNESCO is onto something to do that, but how do we... Africa, we just seem to be on our own. Well, the Indians, the Pakistanis, the Bangladeshi people, like you said, they speak. That's the first language they speak to their children. Here in Nigeria, oh my goodness, you have to speak British, the Queen's English, even when you're 2 years old.
I'll have to, lay that in the problem at the feet of the colonizers. This is the colonial mentality. I mean, I've not always known this, growing up, although even my mother, I conversed with her more in English than I did in, Yoruba. When I was in Nigeria, as strange as that sounds, she actually spoke English to me more than she spoke Yoruba to me, So,
and the strange thing, she will speak her language to her siblings, but she will not speak.
Yes.
That's it's the same thing we do as parents. Couples speak their language to themselves, but speak English directly to their children. Honestly,
I think, I understand what you're saying, but I think that might actually be because they don't necessarily want the kids to hear what they're talking about. I mean, that's a completely different thing.
I understand. But I would
encourage, parents to speak more, Yoruba, whatever dialect in Nigeria to their children, because any language that's not spoken, stands, to be extinct.
Yes. So a lot of modern Nigeria, also a lot of young people now say, what's the point of speaking Tiv, for instance, if you're from Benue, so what's the point of speaking Tiv? That who knows Tiv globally? So, but I try to tell people that it's not that people know, or it's preserving that culture for the next generation, that it doesn't matter. So write it in songs. I like that Nigerian artists are doing a lot of that. I often admire this Nigerian man, not Ghost. He sang with Olamide, Ghost Mode, Lele, the guy. Oh my goodness, you know him, Mona.
Which one?
Hey, he's light skinned, he has a big beard.
Fino.
Thank you. He raps and sings in Igbo. Yeah. I love that. So that's a way of preserving it. Then also, while you were speaking, I remember, do you know Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the author?
Of course, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So when she first had her daughter, this was one of the first conversations.
She speaks Igbo
exactly.
to her daughter.
The first 3 years,
yes.
she said so. She speaks Igbo from 1 year old. Yes. She from when the child, of course, was growing. So she said she wants Igbo to be her daughter's first language, because when she goes to school anyway, she'll communicate in English. So if anyone's listening right now, that's the purpose of this show. That if you don't take anything away at all, it doesn't. You don't have to be a Yoruba person to speak Yoruba. Me, I always admire Yoruba people. Whenever they meet each other anyway, we make our language so beautiful that people want to learn words, in our language.
I actually want to say that the Yoruba language, with all its variations, whether you're from Ondo State, whatever, from the southern states, the Yoruba language is far richer than the English language.
It is.
The English language casts spells.
Yeah.
English language, is a spell caster. It casts, spell. People don't understand that.
Yeah.
Whatever indigenous language, any people, group of people, any community speak, any part of the world, they have a right to speak and communicate in that language.
Absolutely.
It shouldn't be subsidized, for the Western language, English, French, Italian, or whatever. Because an Englishman will never stop speaking English and learn your language.
No.
Even if he does learn your language, it's so that, he can rob you of whatever he bought.
Absolutely.
He's not learning a language because he wants to. He's learning your language, because of what he can gain or get from you.
Yeah.
Whereas, we will just adopt and assume, other people's culture without necessarily thinking about the impact it's going to have.
Yes.
Because the minute you do that, I'm not saying people shouldn't learn other languages. Of course, by all means, you should. If I was, doing business in China, I would love to speak Cantonese. I would love to speak Mandarin.
Yes.
But that would be for business purposes, not for my own, daily life activity.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But a lot of people get carried away. They just, ignore that language. Like I speak. I wish I didn't have to speak Yoruba English like this. I wish I could speak Yoruba. I don't think people I've been speaking to, I haven't spoken Yoruba for almost a week.
Can you imagine that? You see, that's the thing. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it is. My dad, when I was younger,
the French man.
Which is where I'm going. My dad, at some point, started confusing French words for Hausa words. But you see, I even like the French. They speak French. They won't speak English to you. So you are forced to learn their language. It's the same thing with the Dutch.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing with the Dutch. It's the same thing with the Germans. It's the same thing with, if you go to their country, they ask you learn their language first. So if you want, which is why those countries are, maybe that's why they don't even have an influx of Nigerians.
Let me quickly share another story. Yeah. I remember back in the 90s, during the, what do you call it, Perestroika, I think it was in China.
Russia. Perestroika is Russia.
It was Gorbachev, was the Russian president then.
Yes.
And I remember there was, he was at a press conference.
Yes.
And obviously he was being asked questions. He had an interpreter there.
Yes.
And the interpreter was interpreting the question to him. Gorbachev was responding in Russian. But it was what happened in the end that actually made me laugh.
Yeah.
After going through all the questions, answering in Russia, the last thing, he just said something in English.
Exactly.
The point I'm making is, it's not that he didn't understand English, he did.
Yes.
But he was just trying to maintain that, presence, the authority.
Yes.
That he chooses not to speak English, nobody's going to say anything to him. But to maintain that, yes, I am Russian. You either speak my language, you listen to my language, or don't
English might be global, but my language too is my language, you know. And
absolutely, you have to respect, you know, me and conduct yourself in my own language. You know, it's a form of, you know, domination in a way. But the point is, he can speak English.
Exactly.
He heard everything, you know, the person was talking about, you know, and even though the interpreter was interpreting what was being said to him and asked him questions in English, he understood it in English. But he chose you to remain a Russian. The same thing goes for Chinese people.
Yes.
You know, the Chinese, they all speak English, but they all pretend as if they don't understand English. They do. They all speak English.
So because, I mean, you should have to make the
cultural heritage of sticking to their own indigenous language.
And also because everybody seems to think if it's English, so therefore it's correct. And it's superior.
Well, that's the trick that the colonizers, you know, have actually played on the world.
Yes, that English is superior. So I like that, you know, they stay within their, so if you...
But it's not.
If you think if you think well of me, you will learn my language. If you really want me to sit at the same table with you, you learn my language. You learn about my culture, you know. And I think that's one of the things that international mother language is important for, especially here in Nigeria. We have such a rich diversity of, you know, how many languages? We have 700 and something languages in Nigeria, but we often just say we stick to the top 3. Yes? Go on.
I was just going to say that, you know, what if I told you that, you know, the times, you know, when I was very young, that I spent in Nigeria, I could speak Igbo, Hausa, and Yoruba. I could speak French. I could speak Egun. I could speak 5 different languages growing up. My mother could speak fluent Igbo as she was growing up.
Yeah.
You know, that's because in Lagos, you had people from all over, especially the Igbos, not so much the Northerners, but Igbos, you know, Calabars and, you know, Shekiri, you know, Edo people, mostly, you know, where in Lagos as she was growing up. Yeah. They all grew up together. They could speak each other's languages. Yeah, she spoke Igbo fluently.
Yes. I can really
speak.
You know, so you see, that's the Nigeria that I remember. You know, that's the Nigeria that we want. That where, you know, we shouldn't let politicians conveniently, when it's election time, pitch us against each other. You know, that this our language. It's a plus. You know, it's actually a plus.
Tribalism seems to be the culprit, you know, of what causes most
and
of
stereotyping. You know, we're always using one person against. It's actually old. But if you grew up in Nigeria, you know, of the olden days, we respect each other. You know, we want to learn more about each other's culture. And food was the easiest way to even do that. Oh, can I taste your amala? Oh, can I taste some of your tuwo? You know, it was, oh gosh. I just really hope that we're doing the right thing. You know, this Saturday when we go out to the polls, I'm on election duty. I'm not voting this Saturday. So when we go out, let's do the right thing, honestly. Let us stick with the things that are important.
I mean, when I saw the data, the statistics, you know, of how many languages around the world, excuse me, go extinct, you know, on a regular basis.
43%. Yeah. I know. Of an estimated 6,000.
Yeah, I look forward, you know, to the time when indigenous languages are preserved, they're revitalized, promoted, and used across, you know, all social, cultural, economic, environmental, and political domains. Yeah. You know, I mean, that's the only way we can preserve, you know, languages, because...
Oh dear, please come back. Don't go, because I was going to say that's a good place to wrap up. Yes.
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah. So that was I was just saying that you've said it all, and that's a great place to wrap up on the show. Yeah, time is up.
I'm just so pleased. You know, I was able to. This is actually going to make me have this, you know, more in mind and be aware of what the problem with the languages, you know, going extinct. There's just one area I've never really paid attention to.
Yeah.
Not on a global scale anyway. Not on a global scale. But I'm very, very, you know, conscious, you know, and cognizant, you know, of, you know, people not, using their own indigenous, languages, regularly, and that leads to the loss of that language.
I wish we would teach it in schools, honestly. Just teach it in schools.
Yes.
We spend half our time in school. From school, we move to work. So in the work environment, just even make sure, but, it's going to cause, someone say it's going to cause chaos, or, but at least just speak it. Don't let the languages die out. Honestly.
But it's so interesting because, when I was in boarding school, we did Yoruba as a proper lesson.
Really?
And then, the thing is, you couldn't speak Yoruba during any other normal activities.
They were termed vernacular. You can't speak vernacular.
And if you were caught speaking vernacular, you were punished.
Yes.
And again, this ties with all the colonial nonsense that went on in that part of the world.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing now.
For speaking your dialect.
My son's school now, they don't do Yoruba.
Is it any wonder that some of these languages are going extinct, when the people who were in charge, were actually punishing people for speaking their own indigenous language. They're forced to speak a foreign language, forced to speak English.
Yes. I look forward to someone creating an app that teaches you Yoruba, because there's an app that teaches you Mandarin, Cantonese, French, Portuguese, Duolingo.
Excuse me. If you want to quantum entangle, that's a new thing for me now. I encourage people to quantum entangle.
What does that mean?
If you said you want somebody, why don't you create the app yourself?
Okay. I'll put that on my list for 2023.
Quantum entangle is your thought.
Yeah.
You see, our thought, creating our realities, You've just thought about it. I'm sure you've probably been thinking about it for a while. Or the fact that you actually vocalized it.
Yeah. Let
it quantum entangle with the universe. You come up, with the app.
Yeah, so important.
I don't mind giving you a hand.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right, so this is me speaking to the universe. I'm going to create a language app. And I know that
entangle. It's the latest thing for me now. Quantum entangle.
Thank you so much, Adrian. You've been such a delightful guest. My producer is eyeing me.
Welcome. It's been a pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your day today. I'll catch up with you in a bit.
Thanks. And you too.
All right, bye.
Bye to everybody.
Bye. Alrighty, I'm sure you've guessed right. That was my mom. Yes. I had to co-opt her because I know she's passionate about stuff like this. Let's make today tomorrow, same time, same station, here on Citizen FM 93.7. We've said quite a lot about the International Mother Languages Day, celebrated on the 21st of February every year. The theme for this year is Multilingual Education, a Necessity to Transform Education. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Go and do the right things. If you need to buy anything for your houses, go and do that today. Election is in 48 hours. Have a fantastic afternoon. Thanks for listening.